one on, I think we did Douglas because it was a better road and it's wider.
I know it's a better road, but it's a much busier road.
And maybe you should have that. You already approved your docket as amended. You should have this as a discussion item potentially for a future meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I'll say about that, when we went at the Complete Streets training, it's not about making bikes on some other street or whatever, or route. It's kind of making all of your streets more friendly to bicyclists.
Yeah.
I know the DIDA is actively working to improve both entrances, Douglas and from Hurley, as the entrances to the downtown. So I think you would definitely want to be directing anybody in those two routes. That doesn't mean that people can't be going on Greenbush, and ideally we'd be looking at bike lanes and markings and all that on all of our roads.
But basically, I don't think you were here when we did this. The reason we laid this out is because all you need to do these routes on these streets that we laid out is paint. So you have to have a wide enough street to put a
Low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is basically what we can do for next to nothing.
Right.
So that's why we laid them out, yeah.
But I thought, Douglas is just a little bit too busy right now, and
What should we be
it's a really
looking?
busy street, and Greenbush kind of almost
Yeah,
parallels, and does go to Mount Zion
Yeah.
and to the college.
Greenbush is a direct route to Mount Zion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you suggest we look at? The width of the street and just the...
Well, that's what we looked at, is when we
The
laid this
wisdom
out,
of it
was
again
just
here
the
in
width of the
little town.
street.
So I think that's the
Challenging
logic
a bit.
behind that. I'm hoping that the city's going to move forward with the Complete Streets
And then it'll be-
and
it'll
really start
address-
looking at
yeah.
a lot of issues on that. But for now, I think definitely low-hanging fruit and are one of our main entrances.
Yeah.
So
Okay, let's move on to the next one, and this one is...
7?
Yep, 7 is a waste ordinance. It's in the language now, but basically it comes down to people walking their dogs and not cleaning up after them, and as the snow melted,
yes,
it
what's
was
in
nasty.
the language right now?
Oh, I don't know.
The city ordinance at this point does not adequately address. You don't have a pet waste ordinance. in the
No,
city.
there's no pet waste
There are
ordinance.
pieces of
This
the
and that.
nuisance ordinance. There are pieces of there's like a cats and dogs chapter.
Yeah, but there's no real spelled out in...
But there's nothing addressing
and
what
white.
you're talking about in a direct way.
Yeah. So I was looking at...
So you think this is something that's important to?
I mean, develop the ordinance, develop a draft ordinance, and send it up to the city commission for their consideration.
Right.
I mean, that's a role of this committee.
part of what...
I'm certainly not against it. My concern is always with enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
I hate passing ordinances. We have the can't put your garbage out to the curb more than a day in advance.
Mm-hmm.
We have the pigeon ordinance. We have all this stuff that is the only time they're ever enforced is if somebody doesn't like somebody else, and then they target them with this.
Or you
They're
get
never
upset with
generally
somebody's
enforced.
sloppy, your neighbor's sloppiness, and so forth, which is kind of what an ordinance is for, in that respect.
Yeah, but they're never fairly enforced, and that's a real concern of mine. I'm not saying that we don't need this. I'm not saying that I don't notice it too, and I never thought I'd be reading waste matter expelled from the bowels of their pet.
Steve, I think it's
Exactly.
a problem, a challenge of enforcement, and the impact it has on law enforcement and stuff like that.
The fact that we have no ability to anonymously report anything in this town, so your name is immediately drawn up. I have no idea if the blight officer checks email ever or has an email that the public knows about. And so if you do complain about something that is legitimately against our codes, you're branded as a troublemaker and looked down upon, even though you're trying to... That's why either we pass them and enforce them, or we shouldn't bother passing this stuff at all.
Well, it's going to be an ordinance, whether it gets policed or not. It's not, but it's there, so if somebody bitches, they can, at least you can say there is an ordinance against it, and you can turn your neighbor in or whatever.
And in reviewing, I want to say I sent out 2 quick examples to you, and in looking over the second one, it's poorly structured. It could be restructured, but it's probably not adequate for what you're trying to do. It's the first sentence conflicts with the second sentence. So I would say focus on example 1. I mean, is this something you want to do? And if not, we can move on.
Is there? I just made a note. Was there something that happened that prompted this? So that
It's more of a general concern. I was hearing from Sam, I think.
Well, I mean, I walk a lot and everywhere I go, because we walk
Especially as
the
the snow
dogs.
melted off.
Especially as the snow melted off. I mean, it is hard to pick up dog poop in the winter, but it's...
Green Bay
still could be
is
done.
just, they enforce it like you wouldn't.
And it's just everywhere you walk.
You
can't
are-
walk
people-
because
and-
it's-
No, that's true.
I think it's this first one, where it's if you don't have a bag or something with you,
Right.
you can be ticketed, and that's how
Yeah.
Green Bay is. You don't leave home without a bag. They really enforce that down there. And I think, again, you have to, at least initially, you got to make sure you're enforcing it, then people eventually get in the habit, and it should take care of
And
itself.
the worst one was Norrie Park.
Yeah, I'll
was
give you that.
Absolutely.
I was down North Park
That was a
today. and
bloody
it-
disaster.
It
You couldn't even walk
does
down
not
the
look good.
blacktop.
It does not look good. I was down there this afternoon.
And you know me, I always take things one step further. I don't think, obviously, if it's not your dog crapping in somebody, or your dog crapping in somebody else's yard, but I've seen plenty of people's yards where it's their own animals crapping in it, and it's horrible. It's certainly to the point where it's a health hazard. When you
There
get
was a
that much
problem
feces
down on
lying in there.
Yeah.
Ridge
North side,
Street, Ridge
yes.
Street about, what, 2 years ago or 3 years
Yep.
ago? Where
Yeah, that
it
neighborhood.
was quite an ugly
It was.
situation that...
So, I mean, do we add that to the ordinance too, that you must...
I wouldn't, I would leave
You
this
would keep
kind of
it as
directed
this,
where
yeah.
it is.
I
like
of
example.
people off their own property.
Right.
That was right next door to you.
That's basically what
Technically, 2 doors
ticks
up.
me
That
off,
was
is
an ugly-
people walk
that was
up and down Greenbush and my yard is covered in dog poop over there that my lawnmower runs into all the time.
So this is set up, I mean, I have this in an electronic form, you know, we can tweak the language, we can add the name
So I
of
guess
the
if
city
we
of
wish to do
Ironwood.
this, we need a motion to do this ordinance. I mean, it's in there, but it's not spelled out in black and
So what are we
white.
looking at? Just considering it in the future, writing it, or
Just doing,
passing this
passing
up?
this on, just making the recommendation.
I like example 2. Short, brief.
Yeah,
I think
and
it covers a lot
contradictory.
for-
If you say no person shall allow an animal to defecate on public and private property other than his own, and then in the next sentence you say, but if the animal does, you already said you're not going to allow that to happen, and then you say, but if it does, then the person owning and having possession, etc. So it's not really, I mean, if you struck the first sentence and said, if any animal defecates on any public property, I mean, then you could do it.
No, I think the first example is looks much
Example
better.
one.
Example 1. On the other hand, I would like Part B from the second one added.
The thing I don't like about the first one is that we go into an awful lot of detail
Yep.
to try and describe, and I think we verbalize the thing to that.
But if you define your terms-
Covers all the bases,
Right, covers all the bases.
Yeah, but my God.
I
gives the, you know,
And what's the B section here?
that any person accompanied by any animal on public or private property other than his or her own must carry with him or her visible means of cleaning up any fecal matter left by the animal. Done.
So that would go into section 3 of example 1
Yes.
as a separate
Yes.
paragraph, so to say.
Okay, is this a thing we should look at and bring up next meeting?
That's fine. I mean,
This is, I think,
doesn't bother, whatever.
let's just look at it now, talk about it, and
That's why we
pass
send it
on.
out as part of the mailing
Yep.
list, so we
Well,
would
now
have
we're
a chance to
discussing
review
it.
it.
Yep.
I don't know if I don't know how big of a deal it would be, but the exemptions, I don't know. You should still clean up after you.
I thought that visible means was included in that first.
I mean, if you're a blind person,
I-
it's going to be kind of challenging. but-
Yeah, I know. At least this one doesn't have the parade exclusion in it, so.
And the fines would reference the same, there's a standard set of fines for violations, especially nuisance violations, and it would link to that part of the ordinance, so it would refer to that part of the ordinance.
This is Jim's idea of a municipal court, too. if we need that.
Did you get it?
I have them, yes, thank you.
So if we add that paragraph under section 3, I'm fine with leaving 4 in.
Say that again, you're
I'm
thinking
just
about.
adding that one paragraph that I said.
We would like to include B in section 3,
Add that to section 3.
requirement for disposal. The
Said
visible
part
means
6
of-
will just reference the standard. It might not be a dollar amount. It might just reference that portion of our other codes.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
Okay.
That's used throughout the code of ordinances.
Okay. Easier to change at
Well,
one
we could
place
add
than in
that,
every
Absolutely,
um,
absolutely.
We could add the one thing in here that another guy told me about this. It says that just teach your dog to wait till he gets to the township.
So there's a dog training element.
Yeah, just train your dog to hold it till they get to the township.
Is it in our jurisdiction to discuss the fine amount, or is that the commission's?
I mean, I could drag it, I could get on the computer and drag it out of the ordinance, but we have, and this is what Steve was just talking about, we have a standard set of fines that, for minor infractions of the ordinance that gets referred to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't recall off the top of my head, it might be $150 or something. I don't even recall what it is.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I was thinking 20 bucks or something.
First time.
It's more than, but we wouldn't want to go in that direction and make up a new set of fines just for this.
All right,
I would not
If there's
recommend.
a standard, it'd be,
Yeah.
Where it says all pet owners and keepers are required to immediately and properly dispose of, they read with proper.
Proper disposal
Immediate means
of-
shall mean the pet solid waste is removed at once, and then proper disposal, placement in a designated waste receptacle. Well, if there is no waste receptacle, you're carrying that home. Is that
carry it home, put it in.
Yeah, trust me,
is
I
that
carried a long
slightly?
way.
Does that need to be tweaked, or am I over legalizing it?